people have accumulated stress, unhealthy lifestyles that leads to medical diagnoses that just get treated with medicine or not addressed at all, which is part of why we're one of the sickest countries in the world, and most people never overcome their health issues and they just get worse and worse and worse. And then they're suffering with chronic diseases. 5 out of 6 people in this country die from a chronic, preventable, lifestyle-related disease that you can solve on your own with the things we're going to talk about here today. So it's not just about how to feel better or for some quick fix recommendations. This is really about how to live your life to its best, how to add quality years to your life and be able to do all the things that you want and need to do. And that's our mission and purpose, is to empower you to take control of your health, to get those natural solutions, and to support your health journey through chiropractic and holistic living. And the good news is your body's designed to be healthy. That's what's normal. I always go back to that because I also find people are told that your body is not healthy, that it's normal to be sick, that as you get older, it's normal to have problems, or it's normal to have unhealthy periods, or it's normal to have hormonal imbalances. It's normal to have autoimmune disorders. It's normal to not sleep or to have no energy or to have these chronic issues and be taking 3, 4, 5 medications. That's not normal. That's not how your body's designed. Your body's designed to be healthy, and that's normal. So that's what we're going to talk about. Even if you're in an unhealthy, abnormal state right now, what can you do to start moving in the right direction? So first thing we have to talk about is how your body actually works and really understanding what's going on at the hormone level through different phases of your life. And once you start learning about how your body works, we'll show you how to work with it to really get things back in balance again, to where your body's able to heal itself the way that it was designed. So to go through this portion, I'm going to introduce or reintroduce Dr. Thor. Now, despite his young-looking age, he's actually been a chiropractor for a few years now and has done extensive training in nutrition testing, women's health, hormonal balance, holistic healthcare, nutrition and supplemental support. So he's very well qualified to take over our nutrition and health guidance in these areas. And he's going to be talking about specific to you women, how your hormones work, how your body works, and understanding why things may be out of balance. Then we'll talk about how to get them back in balance with those natural solutions. So let's give Dr. Thor a round of applause here.
When you start out your life, you're nothing but a little baby. And when you're in that childhood phase, where are your hormones? Very little to none, right? Little boys and little girls are fairly similar hormonally, correct? And then a beautiful time comes, puberty. How many have children who went through that? Raise of hands. You know what that is like. You went through it yourself as well. I feel like even from a parental experience, it's going to be even more noticeable because you see those changes happening and you know what that looks like. So then, what happens to hormones at that point in time? They go up and down a lot, right? Every week on a normal female hormone cycle, it changes. Every single week. And it does that for decades, the entire time you're cycling. And I will tell you this, now, being a male, I have never experienced that because my hormone cycles are very different. But there are many women who don't experience normal hormone cycles. They say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but they say, oh, I don't get my period. It's great. There's one problem with that though. Remember that slide earlier that says your body was designed to be healthy? Well, your body was designed with that hormone cycle for a reason. And if you're not getting that cycle, it is a sign that your body's unhealthy, and there's a lot of risks that come with not getting that hormonal cycle every month. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But then that's where you have the rise and fall of estrogen and progesterone. Weekly, okay, so then once you get through those cyclical years, imagine we probably have a few ladies in the room who have already gone through menopause. Now, are you ladies aware that menopause is actually considered a diagnosis if you look it up with the medical community?
Can I sit over here? Because I don't want to press.
Yeah, that's just fine.
Sorry.
So is menopause a diagnosis? Who thinks it should be? Who thinks menopause should be a diagnosis? Okay, I'm glad nobody raised their hands because it's not. Menopause is a normal phase of life. And if a body is healthy, it's easier to take care of yourself when you're in menopause than it even is when you're in your cycling years because your hormones stay balanced. You can exercise more, for example. I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. You can do fasting at different times, and it's not going to affect your hormones. So that's the 3 phases. We have flatline early hormones, we have the cyclical years, and then we have the menopausal years where your hormones go, they're at a higher level, but they're flat. So what should that really look like when you look at normal hormones? We want to see mood, energy, sleep, weight, and fertility all be balanced. There is this term that I learned from a mentor of mine way back, and he said, every month it's like the circus is coming to town. And there's reasons for that. Now, women's hormones are meant to fluctuate throughout the month, but they're not meant to fluctuate that much. If you're having fluctuations where one week it seems like you're on top of the world, the next week you're down in the dumps, depressed, can't even get out of bed, that is not normal. Okay? So we want to see these things stay relatively balanced. And when it comes to estrogen, estrogen is not actually a hormone. It's actually a misconception. Estrogen is actually a general term that encompasses about 11 different hormones in your body. So it's even more complicated than it already seems. Now, those estrogens are responsible for things like maintenance of breast tissue growth, maintenance of all of your uterine lining, and then also even bone mass. So that's why sometimes in menopause later in life, we see women, that bone mass starts to go down because those hormones are no longer maintaining it. And then we have progesterone. Progesterone is responsible for calming the body down. It's also responsible for calming the uterus down. So that's why if you don't have enough progesterone, you can lose a pregnancy because your uterus is a muscular organ, and what it does is it squeezes. And then we have testosterone. Now, who here sees testosterone as like a male type hormone? Raise your hand. Anybody? Okay, a lot of you, right? Now, testosterone is associated with men because we have a lot more of it. However, testosterone is extremely important for women too. All of your estrogens are made from testosterone. So if you don't have testosterone, you're not going to be able to make the rest of your hormones. It's also responsible for maintaining muscle mass and even parts of your mood, fat metabolism, a lot of things. So we want to see all these things be in balance. And the way your body does that is with the nervous system. All of these hormones are regulated by your nervous system. So what actually can throw hormones out of whack? The short answer? Stress. So let's get a little bit more specific though, because stress, that's a pretty basic term, right? We could say, oh, stress is your work. Stress is your kids. So there's really 3 types of stress that we talk about. And in chiropractic, we call them traumas, toxins, and thoughts. So here we have physical stressors, that's injuries, traumas. Emotional stress. How many people hold their stress in their shoulders? Got at least one here. And then we have chemical stress. Now, what makes this even more complicated? Well, what is stressed spelled backwards? Desserts. Exactly. So let me ask you a question. If you have a really long, stressful day, you get home, what's the first thing you want to eat? A nice big organic salad? No, of course not. You want ice cream, you want chocolate, because your body's craving those sugars. And what that typically does, it adds to this chemical stress bucket. Because unfortunately, our food system, the way it is now, many foods are toxic, especially a lot of our processed sugars. Now, when you look at these lifestyle aspects, we have the first one there is sedentary lifestyle. So if your body is not moving, it's not going to have normal hormone responses because movement especially resistance training, is one of the major stimulators of testosterone production. And without testosterone production, you won't have normal hormones. Forward head posture. Now, being a chiropractor in this day and age, I see it everywhere, and it horrifies me because forward head posture puts stress on your entire nervous system. And remember I said earlier, the nervous system is what's responsible for keeping your hormones in balance. And that's what a lot of you are working on here with your chiropractic care, which is wonderful. Now, looking at poor diet. Who here has heard the term estrogen dominance? Anybody? Just a few, okay. Now, insulin is a hormone that gets stimulated when you eat sugar. And that hormone insulin also stimulates your body to create estrogens. Sometimes women can have much too high levels of estrogen, and that has a lot of effects. That's one of the major contributors to painful periods, especially. Now, here's the interesting part about estrogen dominance. One of your main stress hormones, cortisol, which I actually have that here on the next slide, it's created from progesterone, which, remember earlier I told you that was one of your main female hormones. So if you are very stressed out, it can drain your progesterone, and progesterone and estrogen balance each other out. So even if you have normal levels of estrogen, if you become very stressed, you can be estrogen dominant. And that's why it's so important to watch out for all of those stressors. And Dr. Tim's going to talk more about how to do that as well. Okay, and then this last one, this is a huge one, because overexercise, I believe, hurts more women than it helps. So remember I said cortisol will actually drain your hormones. And overexercise is one of the major ways that women do that. Because when you exercise, your body has to produce cortisol in order to maintain energy. Well, that's all well and good, but if you do that at the wrong time in your cycle, you can become estrogen dominant. You can start having all of these symptoms. And some women actually even completely lose their hormone cycle because they don't have enough gas in the tank. And what is your body going to prioritize? Reproductive health or survival? Survival every time. And Dr. Tim is going to talk about the cycle and when it is appropriate to do harder exercise and when it's appropriate to do less. So then last we have here cortisol. And I know I already touched on this, and this is extremely important because as women, like Dr. Tim mentioned, the way you take care of yourselves is going to be different than men. As men, we don't have to worry so much about stress and how it's going to be affecting our hormones. Because the way our hormonal systems work, we don't need all that progesterone in order to maintain that balance. And things that can affect this are chronic stress, overexercise, and then sometimes even too much sugar, because blood sugar and cortisol are tied in. Okay, so then last thing here that I'll mention is when you look at chiropractic. Chiropractic affects your nervous system. And when you're in a chronically stressed state, your nervous system is going to be dysregulated, you're going to be out of balance, and you're even going to have some postural changes as a result of that. And that's why chiropractic, I just had a consultation with one of our patients recently, and she told me she was amazed by how much just her chiropractic care had taken care of her menstrual issues. She used to have painful periods. She doesn't anymore. And it wasn't that we got her on 10,000 supplements. She didn't start on HRT. She just got her chiropractic care. And that's where, when you look at the nervous system, it's also an instantaneous response. So the second you get adjusted, it goes to town right away, calming your nervous system and giving your body a chance to heal and restore itself normally. Now, that was mostly lifestyle related things. The next thing I'm going to talk about is going to be controversial in some of your minds. And it's actually birth control. Okay, so birth control, especially the hormonal versions of birth control, what they're actually considered, if you look them up chemically, is they are endocrine disruptors. Endocrine just means hormones. And then I take it you know what disruption means. And I've done this because I used to have a practice where I did a lot of hormone testing. If you test a woman's hormones and she's on a hormonal form of birth control, you know what her hormone levels look like? All zero. Because of these synthetic hormones, all of your natural hormone production shuts down. Now, when you look at the risks of birth control, you also see things like nutrient depletion and gut damage. But I think the biggest risk of birth control is actually infections and cancer. Now, you can look at the research and it probably won't agree with me, but you'll see that women who do birth control, especially for long periods of time, they have increased incidences of certain cancers. So that's why when it comes to birth control, there are safer options. Now, my wife recently got pregnant. Woohoo. Now, I will tell you this. We've been married for over 5 years. She never took birth control during that time. So there are other options, just like knowing where your cycle is, knowing when your fertility is possible. And these are the things that don't get taught in schools. I don't understand why. And that's why we're here to start to teach you these things. Now, this is another one that comes with a little bit of controversy. So with menopause, right? We're going to see a lot of changes in menopause. The first thing that happens is your ovaries, they stop working. Okay, who here is familiar with the ovary? Anybody? Okay. So the ovary is actually responsible for most of your estrogen production when you are in your cyclical years. Now, when that stops happening, you have two other areas that take up the slack. The first one is your adrenal glands. And with stress, how are most people's adrenal glands? Some people are saying fried. They're down. So the other tissue that can take up the slack is actually fat tissue. And that's why many women, when it comes to menopause, they start to get this thing. Some people call it the spare tire. Right around the midsection, a lot of fat starts to develop there. And that's because your body is working on just producing enough hormones that keep you healthy. So that's where you get this adrenal fatigue, leads to things like hot flashes, brain fog, because your hormonal levels are too low to maintain normal function of your body. Chiropractic can help you better manage that, because you're going to start to see increased nerve flow to those areas, and you're going to start seeing healing and repair. And when it comes to sleep, sleep is insanely important when it comes to healthier adrenals. Now, I've had so many patients, and I told them, you have to go to bed by 10. And they say, I can't. So that is a big problem in our world today, because we have artificial lights. We have all these screens that we look at, and those are ruining our circadian rhythm. If you're not going to sleep by around 10 p.m., your adrenals aren't going to be fully repaired, because that's when your adrenals repair. Okay, so good. Yep, exactly. Okay, now, many women in menopause will begin to turn to things like hormone replacement therapy. And I've had a lot of women tell me it was like a miracle. Overnight, they were sleeping better. They had all these hot flashes. They went away. And that makes sense, because they're giving you the synthetic version of your hormones, and your levels come back up to normal. Yay. What's the problem with this, though? Does anybody have any ideas? Body's still not making them. Now, when they first came out with these type of therapies, do you know what the biggest risk was? That they stopped using them for a very long time because of it? Cancer. Now, why is that, though? Remember I said there's 11 different estrogen metabolites? Your liver is primarily responsible for transforming those estrogens into different forms. How are most people's livers in the United States? Not good, especially women, because you have to convert so many more estrogens. So they were giving people these replacements. They already had bad conversions of their estrogen, and then it was those bad conversions that led to the cancers. And what's amazing about this is we still have these other options that we can balance these things naturally. And I'm always amazed when somebody comes in oh, they say they started on hormone replacement therapy. I'm like, okay, great. You're feeling a lot better. I don't think that's a bad thing. However, if you're not addressing that root cause, then you're going to start having other issues down the road because you still have all these problems and you're just masking all of your symptoms with the Band-Aid. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's where I'm not against hormone replacement therapy. And in fact, like it says up here, some women really need it. If you've had a full hysterectomy, your body's never going to produce hormones naturally again. So that's somebody who would need to do that long term. Now, next up, what we're going to see is we're going to see what the natural solutions are. Ways that we can just support our bodies. Because remember, we talked about the cause of all this. Remember what it was? Stress, right? Now, who here can take all the stress out of their lives? Raise your hand. I can't raise mine. Nobody can. So that's why we're going to have Dr. Tim come back up, and he's going to be going through all of these natural solutions that you can use to support yourself despite the stressors of life.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Thor. We got our education on how your hormones work. Pretty interesting, right? Amazing. Working with your body. So last month we did a workshop called Nutrition 101. I don't know if any of you saw it, but we talked about the benefits of fasting and how that actually taps into many of the systems of your body. So we're going to review that again, specific to women, because it's very, very important. Because like Dr. Thor mentioned, for us gentlemen, our hormones are the same, so we can use these same things all the time. How we work out, how we eat, the level of fasting we use can be the same, 365. But for women, as you go through these cycles, it's different. And you could actually be sabotaging yourself, doing things that you think are good at the wrong times of the month. So we're going to talk about the different types of fasting here and how they work. Many of you are probably familiar with intermittent fasting, which can be done in different ways. The most simple is 12 hours of fasting. So you have 12 hours where you're not eating any type of food and just consuming liquids, and 12 hours where you're actually eating food. 16-8 is a longer fast where you're consuming food for 8 hours, and 16 hours you're not consuming any type of food. Then we have longer fasts like OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. Typically you're eating just one meal. That could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, depending on your lifestyle and what works best for you. We have a full 24-hour fast where you're not eating anything at all for up to 24 hours. And this is where you start getting a lot of the major benefits from the cell die-off and what's called autophagy, which is right over here if you want to know what that is. It's killing bad cells in your body. You get what's called these ghost cells that live off sugar and food in your body that need to be sloughed off. So this is a cleansing of your cellular health when you're doing these longer fasts, like 24 hours or more. And then you can do 3 days or more. This is when mostly you're consuming water for this period of time. This is a more advanced fast. Don't go home and just try this tomorrow. You got to work yourself up to this for sure. Most people will start here and then work their way down. But for most women of childbearing age, you don't want to do these longer fasts. You really don't want to do anything more than 24 hours. And even only a few days of the month, you really want to go into this area. For those women who are later on and are postmenopausal, you can do these longer fasts and it doesn't affect you as much and can have more positive benefits. So we'll talk a little bit more about how that works. We also want to set you up for success when it goes to these areas. How intermittent fasting works is you choose a defined window. And really the benefits of this is you allow your digestive system to rest. Because your digestive system takes up a lot of energy. It requires blood flow, it requires nerve supply, it requires focus from your body. If you're constantly eating throughout the day, you can't fully digest your food. You can't fully detox, you can't fully process the nutrients that's going into your body. So having these fasting windows is really important to optimize your digestion, which primarily happens at night from, like Dr. Thor said, the evening through even the late morning. That's your primary digestion time. That's why a lot of people skip breakfast for fasting, because you really could optimize the digestive function during that time. And that's really why it's called breakfast, because it's breaking your fast. And that doesn't always have to be first thing when you wake up. That could be 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and you're getting within that 12 to 16 hour window if you had a reasonable evening meal, which shouldn't be too late anyway, because if you eat too late, your digestive system is going, and you'll notice that your sleep isn't as good. You're going to get less restful sleep. You're not going to get into deep sleep. REM sleep's going to be affected because your heart rate's going to be higher. Your body's going to be working on metabolizing that late night meal, and you're going to get interrupted and poor sleep. and you're going to wake up not feeling your best in the morning. So eating earlier in the evening and later in the morning helps you stay within this fasting cycle. Very important that you stay hydrated. And when you break your fast, you typically want to do it with proteins and fats. You don't want to go and have like a jelly donut for breakfast or things along those lines because it spikes your blood sugar. It's not healthy for taking you out of this fast. You want to use lower sugar options like proteins and fats. That's where like a protein shake or something along those lines can be very helpful in the morning. It's very gentle on your digestion. You're easing yourself out of the fast versus a Danish, not very easy to digest, full of processed foods, really high sugar, blood sugar spikes immediately. Your body's immediately in that stress state where you actually start to produce cortisol and other unhealthy hormones because of what you're choosing to eat. Some things to look out for in fasting that are common is you may notice hunger. That's when it's a good time to drink more water. That's when electrolytes can be really helpful. And that's why it's good to do it over sleep because you don't really notice that you're hungry while you're sleeping. It's a little bit harder to do during the day. So you want to keep yourself distracted, keep yourself moving, avoid overeating during the eating window. You want to consume the same amount of calories that you normally would throughout the day, whatever that recommendation is for you. So you don't want to really binge for this short period of time. You can eat maybe a little bit more, but don't overeat of what normally you would typically do. So staying busy, drinking electrolytes, take time to really focus and journal and meditate during these fasting times. It's a great time. A lot of cultures around the world for many, many years did this for a religious purpose, did it for mental purposes, did it for health purposes, where they would do long fasts. Even today, they do different types of fasts for this very specific reason, because it gives you a time to turn inward, where we're constantly eating in distraction, and even focus on what's called mindfulness, which is a great thing to do while you're eating. When you're not, is really focusing on what's going on around you. How present are you when you actually do eat? Are you doing that real quickly in the car from place to place, at your desk on a busy day, wolfing it down at dinner, watching TV? Or are you actually mindful about what am I eating? How is this nourishing my body? What am I focusing on? The preparation of that. The longer fasts, like 24-hour fasts, are a little bit different because you're planning a full 24 hours here. So you do want to plan ahead because you may notice some different types of symptoms. This is when you really start getting that autophagy cellular repair. And this is where you start getting the hormonal boosts, benefiting hormones like growth hormone, improving your testosterone. So a lot of positive benefits come from this fasting at a hormonal level, which is why it's a great part of a healthy lifestyle. You could do this as much as 1 to 2 days a week. You don't want to do it every day, and you don't want to do it too often, but 1 or 2 days a week is a great place to be able to do it. And when you break your fast, it's best to do it again with something like bone broth, a smoothie, something gentle. You don't want to just pound a pizza right after doing a 24-hour fast because your body really goes into that shock stress state because you haven't eaten, and now your digestive system, which has been resting, just gets knocked into action, and you don't necessarily want to do it that way. So here's some challenges that you can face. You can have blood sugar dips. It can affect your day-to-day activities, and you can definitely get cravings. So again, that's when you want to know, why am I doing this? What's my focus? Have positive support. And it's hard when you're there with your family and everybody else is eating, and it's the third meal you're skipping that day and you're pretty hungry. So it's good to have that support around you where they know why you're doing your fast, what that looks like. They're like, oh, come on, just have a little bit. It's fine. You want them to be on board with your health goals and what you're doing too. Choose a low stress day typically when you're doing this, because you may have some energy dips as you're doing this, especially kind of middle towards the end of the day when your body's used to having a meal and your blood sugar starts dropping and you may get a bit of a headache. You may not feel at your best. Just know that's normal. Your body's just working through it. As you keep going, you're going to start feeling a little bit better. You can do some light movement, but typically you're not doing real heavy movements on this day. You wouldn't want to do your strongest exercise that day. You wouldn't want to go run 10 miles because your body doesn't have as much of that stored energy there. So you can get even more of those energy drops. Now, when we're looking at fasting, this is why you need to fast differently, because women, you have a different cycle. You have a monthly hormone cycle versus we have a normal 24-hour cycle. So you want to work with your monthly cycle. We're going to go through that because your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone are constantly cycling up and down throughout the month. For, again, all of you ladies within childbearing age, later on it's a little bit different. So we'll talk about how fasting even changes at that period of time. And fasting is a form of stress. And as Dr. Thor mentioned, too much of a good stress can actually be bad for you. So again, you think you're doing something good. Oh, I'm fasting, I'm working out, I'm doing these things. But but how come I feel worse? How come I'm more tired? How come my hormones are farther out of balance, or I'm not losing the weight? Well, it's because you could be doing it at the wrong times of the month where you're actually harming yourself more than you're helping yourself. And then syncing your hormones with your lifestyle really makes a big difference. So that's one of the main things we're going to talk about as we go through how this works. And if you think about it, this is actually a real benefit when you understand it. Sometimes women get a little bit frustrated, like, oh, I'm so frustrated with how my hormones are cycling through. But it's actually your superpower to be able to work through this, because once you get everything in sync, right, your body can really get to that next level, which is really, really cool. And it can balance your energy and mood and your clarity and get everything working back in balance. So when we look at some of these things like estrogen, so estrogen is very important for your neurological function and for your metabolism. So we want to sync your cycling on your estrogen levels as they're getting higher or lower through different parts of the month. Progesterone is more for calming, for sleep, and for rest. So during those times when progesterone is higher, you want to relax on the exercise. You want to make sure that you're having less stress in your life if possible, making room for more stress and more sleep so your body can heal during those periods of time. And then testosterone, when those levels are higher, this is your drive, this is your energy, this is your strength, this is where you want to push yourself more. So aligning your schedule and your life with the cycles of your body really helps. So you're not pushing through as hard as you can through the low energy times and feeling poorly, and then the high energy times, you're just sitting around not doing much because it worked out that way. You can really plan around this. And when you honor this cycle and this rhythm, you can really see that things improve for you. So let's talk about what that looks like. So number one is the follicular phase. This is day 1 through day 10. So day 1 would typically be the first bleeding day of your cycle. So this is the follicular phase. This is when estrogen is going up, right? So during this time, you can still get a good fast in here, 16 to 24 hours, and your body's going to do really well with this. So this is the best time to have the longer fast, is day 1 through 10 of your cycle. This is a really good time to burn fat as well. So it's the time when you can really exercise, do more strength training, push your body to a higher level. So this is a great time to really push that fitness for you. This is also a really good time to focus on more keto, low carb type of a diets. So keeping up the healthy fats, high amounts of proteins, really avoiding a lot of carbohydrates, processed foods, sugars, because your body's very insulin sensitive at this point. So if you're taking in a lot of sugar, and sugar also comes from carbs, it's going to raise your insulin level faster. And estrogen will help you gain weight during this period of time. So if you're eating more carbs, you're going to likely gain more weight during this period of time. So that's why you want to really stick to higher protein type of foods during this time. Now, estrogen also supports autophagy and mental clarity, which is why the longer fasts work better. So you're actually going to get more cellular die-off. This is the time when your body is cleansing out old cells and you're able to start building new ones. So awesome time to really challenge yourself both physically and mentally. That's why it's important to understand and track when your cycles are for many different reasons. And there's a lot of technology now that makes that easier, like an Oura Ring or a lot of the wearables tracks your temperature, which helps track your cycle. So if you know where you are in your cycle, it makes it easier to plan around that. So the next phase would be 11 through 15. So this is what's called the ovulation phase. So again, through natural birth control, this is the area where you want to be the most careful, because this is the most likely time when you could get pregnant if you're within the childbearing age, because this is when you're ovulating. So ovulation is when egg comes down. So at this point, estrogen and testosterone are both at their peak. So you can continue to do the intermittent fasting, but for a shorter period of time. So you want to keep it within the 13 to 15 hours max. So this would be a good time to potentially do the 12-12 type of fasting, which is really easy to do. And you can do that on a regular basis during that period of time. You also want to increase the amount of protein more than normal during this time, because your body's going to need that to rebuild. So we had everything sloughing off, and now we're rebuilding into this phase, right? Your body's preparing for this new cycle, which every single month your body's preparing to have a baby, right? So your body needs to ramp all these things up to get ready for that to be able to happen, for that egg fertilization and the process of growing another human being. So this is why these different hormones are at their peak. because your body's ready to go. It's excited. It's happening, right? It's like in heat. Like if you looked at other animals, like that's what's actually happening. Your body is in heat at this point. So you want to work through it. This is a great time for muscle building, for motivation. Again, hitting the gym, very mindful workouts. Excellent time. You're going to feel great. You're going to have that more energy. You're going to get those energy boosts. Great time to get stuff done, be productive. It's going to be more cognitively function. You also want to focus a lot on antioxidants. So antioxidants are going to be all of your colorful vegetables, fruits, things along those lines, because that's helping protect your cells. As you're building these new cells, it's helping detox your body. So you want to get a lot of this in during that period of time. You don't want to overfast because you want to protect that ovulation. So you don't want to go past that 13 to 15 hour time. So be very careful of that and be consistent. So really support this time. This is a great, great time in your cycle and of your month when you're really going to feel a lot at your best. Now the next phase is the early to mid luteal phase. So this is when progesterone starts coming up. This is when we start moving into that calming phase here. So during this period of time, you want to do shorter fast, no more than 12 to 13 hours, because we don't want to add any undue stress during this time. During this time, you need more calm and nourishment. So this is a good time to have more slow cooked, warming type foods, things that you would think of eating in the winter, because your body wants this now repair and regeneration and calming time, because the estrogen and testosterone are going down and the progesterone is going back up. So this is when you don't want to work out as hard. You don't want to hit the really hard workouts. You don't want to do the super strong strength training. This is when you do more restorative movements. Maybe you go for a walk or you go for a hike, you do yoga, you do other types of things that's still moving your body, but it's not really hard. It's not really stressful, because this is the time we want to avoid that high level stresses. That's why we're avoiding the longer fast. We're avoiding the harder workouts. You don't want to eat as much protein and other foods like we were before. This is going to be, again, more insulin resistant during this period of time. So you want to follow a very specific diet during this period of time. So these are things you want to get more of. Things like squash, berries, root vegetables, those slow cooked. You could be soups and stews and things along those lines. You're really supporting your body through this phase. The next phase is the end phase. So this is late luteal. This is when you're going back into menstruation. So this is typically where a lot of women will have problems with painful periods, uncomfortable hormonal imbalances, what we consider PMS. We've all heard of that before during this period of time, because this is when your hormones drop. All these hormones now, they drop right in through there. So during this period of time, you don't want to fast at all. We really want to minimize stresses. And this is a time when you want to ask the people around me to kind of give me a little bit of a break. Right? Don't give me a lot. You don't want to take on some giant project at work. You don't want to take on some stressful events, because your body's not responding very well to stress here at all. So you got to be really careful during this period of month. That's why, again, you can get the attitude and the other things that kind of go along with it. It's because physiologically, your body's ability to process these things is limited. So you got to understand that and respect that time for your body. So as they're low, your energy may also be lower. So you may notice you're not as motivated as you were before, and you don't want to just push through it. That's the problem I see with some women sometimes, is they have this routine. It's like, I work out this way every week, every month, but it's not physiologically great for you. I work hard every day. Doesn't matter what day it is. Well, some days that's going to work, but others it's really not. And your body's going to be paying for it during these period of times, and you're actually throwing your hormones more out of balance by forcing it through these times when you're supposed to really just be calming and relaxing. So you also want to really prioritize lots of mineral-rich foods, especially foods rich in magnesium. So it's going to be all your root vegetables. This is going to be your meats, especially like grass-fed meats, full of magnesium, full of minerals. So this is really, really good time to get all those things in on a regular basis. You could do mineral baths, like magnesium baths can be really beneficial for you. Again, warming meals, gentle movement, sleep, not doing the fast, really supporting this calming phase. And you'll notice that if you do struggle with this period of time, it'll be a lot easier for you. You'll find that you do much, much better during this period of time. And maybe for some of you moms where you have teenage daughters or younger and they struggle during this period of time, encourage them the same thing. Encourage them to rest a little bit, take it easier, change their diet, and they'll find that their cycle starts getting a lot better. as you move back into the beginning phase again. This, you can also add in things like bone broth, other types of broth. A good time to bring back in maybe the soups or the stews in through here to get a lot of that nutrient rich that your body needs during that period of time. So that's what you want to do during the cycles. 4 different phases. Can we see how they're all different and how honoring each of those cycles can really help work with what's going on in your body? And when you do that, you'll hit those real good strides and you can plan around that. And you're going to be much more successful. Now, later on down the line, when you're no longer going through these cycles and your hormones become more balanced, well, we can change things up a little bit. So if you don't have a constantly cyclical hormone cycle, well, you can have more consistent fasting during this period of time. So you can do the longer fasts on a regular basis without throwing your bodies out of balance. Now, some women are kind of in the middle. They're kind of going through from having a cycle to not, and these phases, they get elongated a little bit, where it can be a bit more challenging. You might need some more support, but once you've got to the point where that's pretty well steady balanced, these are the things that you want to really focus on. You can do those longer fasts now. You can do the day fast, you can do the 2, you can do the 3-day fast, and not really have it throw things out of balance. So a great time to reset when you get into this area. Now, you still need to cycle in feasting days to avoid depletion. So when we're talking about cycling, the maximum days that you want to do fasting during the week is 5 days. So you never want to fast more than 5 days. You always want to have a higher protein day within the week, and typically you want to split these up where you're taking in more the average on protein for repair and a higher carbohydrate day. Because when you eat more carbohydrates, you get stored energy called glycogen that goes into your liver, so you can use that on the fasting days. So if you're maximized, like I love fasting, I'm going to do it as much as possible, don't do it every single day. You shouldn't even intermittent fast every single day. Maximum 5 days, and then you want to have a protein day and you want to have a carb higher day. So this is also a good time to really work on strength exercise, brain health, metabolism. You can do a lot in this time. So really good time for you ladies later on in life to get your body back to that strength again. You can actually get a rejuvenated strength, energy, balance if you're supporting this. Now, if you didn't really take care of this for all those years because you didn't know, you took hormonal birth controls, you've been taking hormone replacement therapy, and your hormones are all out of whack, it may take a little while for your body to get back into this cycle. And you may make changes that feel like it's not really helping, but it is. And this could be a point where you could actually test your hormones and again, have some more guided support to get your body back in balance and know what's working and what's not. We have other really cool tools that you can use now, like glucose monitors, even using these different cycle energies, like the Oura Ring or the Whoop or some of these wearables, even your Apple Watch. It can still give you a good idea of how your hormones are doing, how your blood sugar is cycling, and you can get more specific recommendations on how to get that back in balance. So one of the ways to help with that is through supplementation. So we're going to talk about some different supplementations. We've been talking a lot about the foundational 3 because this really is essential to the major systems of our body. We are under stress all the time, mentally, physically, chemically. So when we're looking at the support that happens through these different supplements, it's vital to the healthy function of your body, including your hormones. So the first one is digestion and detox. Digestion is vital to absorbing nutrients, processing toxins, building of hormones. Most of your hormones are built in your gut. Your stress hormones, your testosterone, your progesterone, your estrogen, it starts through the adrenals, it goes through your gut. This is all connected through your brain and nervous system. So this is so vital to have healthy digestion for healthy hormonal support. Now, you also are constantly exposed to toxins. Very common in our society. It's in our food, it's in our water, it's in our products, everywhere. And these toxins can mimic estrogen, they can mimic other hormones, right? They're called estrogen, I forget the name of it, whatever it may be. So anyway, they mimic estrogen in your body. So if you have too much toxins, it can actually throw your hormones out of balance. So having a consistent detox process through the digestion and detox really helps. This also helps with any digestive issues like IBS, bloating, gas. It helps with some of the main toxins like glyphosate, which is in all of our genetically modified foods. That's a really big one. So actually eliminating that glyphosate from your body on a regular basis, mold, plastics, heavy metals, it helps with your natural malabsorption and metabolism issues and helps with weight plateaus. So a lot of people, again, they struggle losing weight because they're not processing toxins, their digestion's out of balance. Well, this naturally helps support that. The other one is the inflammation and immune support. So when you have excess stress, you start to build inflammation. Inflammation can cause joint pain, it can affect your mental function, it can affect the different organs and systems of your body. Chronic inflammation is an effect of unhealthy stress and can lead to a lot of symptoms that are common. Also, immune system. So immune system is made up of many different areas. Again, it's your gut, it's your thymus gland, it goes through your spleen, it goes through your lymphatic system. So many different systems are working on supporting your immune health. Now, a lot of times things that we take in the form of medications, in the form of vaccines, in the form of toxins that come from our foods and over-the-counter prescription medications, well, these things all affect your immune system and your body's ability to fight off infection and disease. So to get healthy, you want to support your immune system, not manage the symptoms of immune deficiency. So this is why we have different types of natural things like turmeric, boswellia, quercetin, collagen, bromelain, ginger. These are all natural joint support, natural anti-inflammatories. So it's not like taking an ibuprofen or an Advil or an aspirin where it blocks the brain's ability to feel the inflammation. It doesn't lower inflammation really in your body. This is actually lowering inflammation systemically, naturally, through herbs and nutritional support, which is very helpful. And these things like vitamin A, vitamin D, bovine spleen, thymus, this is supporting your innate and adaptive immune system. So this is actually helping your immune system adapt to what's going on in your environment. So I started taking these things every day. And the goal is to not be able to get sick, not have chronic pain and inflammation. And then cellular health and longevity, where really cells at the end of the day, your cells are what make up your whole body. So you want to support your cells. So supporting your cells can help with hormone imbalances, chronic fatigue, burnout, metabolism, adrenal issues. So these nutrients actually support your natural energy, your natural metabolism, the health cycle of your cells. You actually turn over cells about every 4 months. That's what's normal. Some people get what's called oxidative stress, where your cells are aging quicker. Again, this is caused by stress. So if you're constantly under stress, your cells are aging faster, so your body's aging faster, and things get out of balance. So it's a great way to bring things back into balance, which creates a longevity. If your cells are healthy, your body's healthy. So this foundational 3 bundle is one of the most comprehensive nutritional supports that supports these 5 essentials. Because these different areas of your body need the right nutritional support to work optimally. Your brain and nervous system, the different parts of your body, your mindset, that's back to your brain again. Your physical health with your joints and the systems that process toxins. All these are affected through this nutrient support. So that's why we're doing this at a 15% discount today. Because I want everybody to try this. Because I know it's really helpful. I've looked at the research, I've been taking it myself, and you notice the difference. There's a lot of supplements out there. Most of them are not great. There's entire stores dedicated to this. They're not researched. They don't have very much in the form of standards of what you could say whatever's on there. You could put anything in there and throw it on the shelf and people take it. We only use things that are naturally sourced. So these come from Beyond Organic, a company that has sustainable organic farming. They're non-GMO. They don't have any negative things in it. They don't have any additives, no preservatives. Anything that comes from an animal is naturally sustainably raised. They don't use any herbicides or pesticides in the process of these. The whole process in itself in the factory is natural. So you're getting the highest level of nutritional support without any of the negatives that can actually be absorbed into your body and utilized. Versus a lot of the things, most supplement companies are actually owned by pharmaceutical companies. I don't know if you know that. Most of the big ones, like you look at Centrum or things like that, they're owned by the same companies, Bayer, that makes Advil and aspirin and some of these other things. So what do you think the standards are on those? Probably not very good. They also own a lot of the food that's out there. Big companies, right? So what's the most of our food? It's junk. So you're getting all these things out here, the food and the supplements and all the things that are supposed to be good for us actually make us sick. And then where do you go back to? You go back to the drug companies to medicate the diagnosis and the disease that's built from everything else that you've had out there. It's a pretty messed up cycle, actually. So that's why you got to go outside of that. Right? These are small companies, independently owned. These aren't big, giant conglomerate corporations because the standards there are not good. We also have the Women's Wellness Bundle. So this is the women's multivitamin, which is really important. For your hormones to work properly, you need to have minerals and nutrients and vitamins that are in your food on a regular basis, but most of our food is overfarmed and malnutrition. So you want to get that in the form of a supplement. So doing the women's multivitamin, well, that supports your gut metabolism, your immune and brain health, your bone, hair, skin, energy, mood, hormones, everything you need is right here. So if you're taking this every day, you're getting the nutrient support that your body needs to keep your cells healthy. And then the cell repair, this is a very powerful antioxidant. So it supports cellular repair and regeneration. It protects your cells against free radical damage. It actually helps build the energy cycles of your cells. So during the different times of the month, you need this repair, this regeneration. That's where the cell repair comes in. And then the women's multivitamin you take on a regular basis to keep your body in balance. So those are two different options. At minimum, you want to be doing the women's wellness balance because you're protecting your cells, you're protecting against the toxins and the stresses, and then you're supporting your nutrients of your cells by getting all the minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients that your body needs. So next we want to talk about lifestyle components. So that's what the 5 Essentials approach is. Now we actually have a new book, which I'm really excited about, that was put out by Max Living. This is a detailed guide to implementing the 5 Essentials in your life. So if you're still new to some of these things and this is your first workshop, or you've only been to a couple and you're still trying to dial in, like, how do I get rid of all the toxins, and how do I eat all the right foods, and how do I make recipes? Well, this book has all of that. So when you go through and look what's in here, it has a chapter on each of the different essentials, on how to start thinking about your health in a natural way, how to optimize your chiropractic, how to optimize nutrition and mindset and exercise. And it has 3 distinct chapters on toxicity because it's such a big issue. And there's over 70 pages of healthy recipes in here about how to apply all these things. So this is your holistic health guide to implementing the 5 essentials. So if you don't already have this, I recommend picking it up as well. Because as you're learning these principles, you want to have these guiding steps to be successful. Set yourself up for success. Don't try it for a week or a month and say this is too hard and go back to what you did before. That's why we're here. We're here to help and support you through that process. So this is a great way to be able to do that. One of the things it's going to talk in there is the nutrition plans, the core plan and the advanced plan. You want to have a plan for your nutrition. It shouldn't just be random. You should know what you're going to eat, what type of things you're going to eat, what is the quality of the food, how do you prepare these types of foods. That's all things that's in the book, and these are the principles behind it. So the core plan, this is just your natural, healthy living plan. Key principles in the quality of food, ideally organic for as much as possible, quality proteins that come from their natural environment. This would be wild-caught fish that come from the ocean. They eat what they're supposed to eat. They're not exposed to much other than it's in the ocean. When it comes to your grazing animals, these should be pasture-raised. They should be free roaming. They should be eating grass or whatever they're supposed to eat. They shouldn't be fed some kind of artificial food or genetically modified grown grain and live in some small space where they can't move and they're sick and toxic and they're given hormones and they're given vaccines and they're given antibiotics. Same thing for poultry. They should be free roaming, eating what they eat, bugs and worms and whatever things are out there on the ranch. Right? That's what's healthy. That's what's normal. So they produce healthy food for you. But what does a sick animal produce? Yeah, it produces toxic, sick food. And you're getting bioaccumulation of all those things. So if you're eating farm-raised fish and you're eating standard grain-raised beef and you're eating your normal Foster Farms chicken, all that comes with tons and tons of toxins and hormones and everything else. So now you're eating things that are actually affecting your hormone levels, they're affecting your digestion, they're affecting your toxicity levels, they're damaging your liver because it's overworking trying to process all of this, and your body gets sick. So having a plan for your nutrition, well, that helps maintain your health, prevents disease, and maintains a healthy weight. So if you're eating the right foods in the right way and your body's healthy, you're going to naturally be able to sustain a certain level of health. Now, the advanced plan is if you're out of balance. So you've been eating the standard American diet for years, you have currently diagnosed issues, you have health challenges, you want to lose more weight, your hormones are out of balance. Well, this is a bit more restrictive type of a nutrition plan. It's not necessarily something you want to do forever unless you have a major concern, maybe like cancer or some severe autoimmune disorder, you may want to stay on the advanced plan for prolonged periods of time. Most people can cycle on and off of this for 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, until the body gets back in balance. So in the advanced plan, we really want to focus on hormone repair, healthy metabolism, healthy cellular function, minimizing toxicity, more increased weight loss, health restoration, inflammation and disease management. So the way these work, in the core plan and the advanced plan, you want to have a lot of fat. Most people actually don't eat enough fat. Fat has been vilified for so many years. Oh, non-fat, low fat, avoid fat. You want to avoid all the unhealthy fats, all the bad fats that come from processed foods. Absolutely, you want to avoid those. You want to avoid donuts, and you want to avoid McDonald's, and you want to avoid soda and all these things. Horrible fats for you. But you want to get healthy fats that come from wild-caught fish and grass-fed foods and come from things like avocados and coconut and olives. Ton of benefits for this. It helps your brain and your nervous system. It helps your cells because your cells have an outer membrane that's made up of fat. If you're not getting enough fat, your cells can't protect themselves. You have healthy fat that surround your organs. Most of your brain and nervous system is made up of fat, and it's the best source of energy for your body. So you want to get lots of fats, but we want to avoid all the bad fats, all the processed foods and fats, right? Definitely want to get that out of there. We want to get the quality proteins like we talked about. You want to start looking at quality grains. Most grains are not good for you. Piece of bread, pasta, all the things we already talked about when it comes to processed foods. Those grains spike your blood sugar. They have very low mineral and nutrient density. But there's ancient grains, especially if you sprout them, that are really good for you, like quinoa and amaranth and different types of nut grains can be really good for you. So when you take different grains, you always want to get sprouted. That's what's really good for you. So when you sprout a grain, it opens up and all the nutrients come out into your food. Where most of the time they take all that and they have just the germ right in the middle, right? That's where all the sugar and everything else comes from. You also want to have a variety of fruits and vegetables that should change seasonally throughout the year. You don't want to just eat the same things all year long. Different types of year, different things. So we're moving into spring and summer. Great time to get your berries and your fruits and your vegetables, right? All the things that need the sun to be able to grow. You want to get all kinds of that this time of year. So going to farmers market and getting more locally raised, doing things like farm fresh to you, you're getting the seasonal type of foods. And then as we get through the summer and we get into the fall and you get more of your root vegetables and you get more of your squashes and you get more of your winter vegetables, well, that's a time when you don't want to be eating the same berries and fruits that you once did, because now you're getting that from Guatemala or Africa or like super far away to where it had to be sustainably processed, and a lot of the nutrient value by the time it gets to you is not as good, or it was unhealthy grown in an artificial environment. So that's why it's important to cycle throughout the year. And then the advanced plan, here we're going to make some specific changes. We want to eliminate grains because grains are hard for your body to process, even healthy grains. So if you have a digestive problem, if you have insulin resistance, if you have excess weight or slow metabolism, we want to get these stresses out of there. So cut out all the grains during the advanced plan. We want to get more healthy fats in there, almost similar to like a keto type diet, where it's really high in fats. No carbohydrates. Only carbohydrates should come from vegetables during that period of time. But the problem with some of those diets is they don't pay attention to the quality of food. You go to the store and you can buy keto ice cream bars, and you can buy keto pizza and keto everything. It's like, well, just because it says keto doesn't mean it's good for you, right? You can buy gluten-free whatever. It doesn't mean it's good for you. It just means it doesn't have gluten in it. So a lot of these fad, healthy marketed foods are not actually very good for you at all. So you want to make sure you know what it is that you're getting. If you're trying to avoid gluten, great. But the gluten-free donut doesn't mean it's great for you. So you got to think about that. Still naturally raised animal products, and we're even restricting fruit and berries here because fructose is sugar. And so to get your insulin back in balance, you need to restrict the sugar for a period of time to allow your body to heal. So in this one, you would only want to use berries mostly. So berries like blueberries or berries like raspberries, the ones that are more tart. Or you can do grapefruit, or you can do Granny Smith apples. You don't want to get the sweet ones. You wouldn't want to eat oranges or mangoes or strawberries, things like that, that are really sweet, that have a lot of sugar. Grapes, high sugar. Not necessarily bad for you, But if your body's out of balance and you're not processing the sugar well, you need to give it a break. So you're now maybe wondering, well, what's best for me? And I'm still new to this, or I've tried some of these things and it didn't go super well. Well, this is when you want to have more support and guidance. There's principles, and these are all things that you guys can do on your own. But maybe you just have a period of time where you have to get some better guidance, some more support to figure it out. We're here to help you. Some people have advanced conditions where they may actually need testing, or they may need advanced gut repair. They may need advanced detoxing. They may need metabolic support and repair with advanced weight loss. So we help people with all of those things, but that's done on a more individualized basis because we're all a little bit different. We're different ages, our hormones are different, especially for women, right? You're at different phases in your life, so you may need different types of support. So what we're doing for everybody that came here today to figure out if we can figure out a plan for you to guide you and meet your health goals is to sign up for a complimentary consultation with Dr. Thor so we can talk about your potential health needs and what that may look like. So we have a sign-up sheet up front. If you're interested in getting more specific guidance, like, yeah, I really want to lose 20 or 30 pounds. Yeah, I've been struggling with hormone imbalance for a while. Yes, I know that I have these health issues that are out of balance and I want to get more support so I can overcome that naturally, get off the medications I'm on, then this would be an opportunity for you to be able to do that. And we'll figure out a plan specific to you on how to guide you and help you through that, utilizing these 5 essentials in addition to things that we've already been doing. Does that make sense? All right. So make sure you sign up for that before you go today, because it's for today only for those that specifically came here. And we only have so many spots available. So make sure you stop by the front, put your name, email, best time for us to reach out to you, and we'll figure out how we can help support you in your health goals. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is essential number 1. This is vital. We touched on it a few times throughout today, and that's what controls your body. At the end of the day, what controls your hormones and your cells and your tissues and your organs and everything that your body adapts to around you is your brain and nervous system. Most important system in your body. And medicine has known this for as long as it's been studied, that the quality of your health is directly proportional in your ability of your brain to communicate what it needs to the different parts of your body. And your body's always adapting to what's going on around you, visually, mentally, chemically, physically. And all that information gets processed right back to your nervous system, back to your brain, where your brain creates the appropriate response and that gets sent right back out to the body again. So this cycle is constantly happening all day long, hundreds and hundreds of times, every single second. It's just going and going, back and forth, back and forth. That's how you can see and hear and process what's happening. That's all just all day long. So how vital is it that this system is happening with no interference? And it's insane to me that no other doctor looks at this. No other doctor at all pays attention to the relationship of your brain, your nervous system, and your spine. At all. Not even a little bit. Unless maybe you break your back and you need back surgery. Right? That's the only time I look at it. But they don't fix any of the damage. They don't restore that communication. That's what chiropractic does. That's why chiropractic is so vital to a healthy lifestyle, because it removes interference and restores communication from the brain and the nervous system. Not to treat back pain, to help your body function better. Pain is just another symptom of an unhealthy spine and nervous system. Now here's the important part, and here's why. 10% of your body, sensory nerves, that's it. Pain, what you feel, sensation, that's 10% of your nervous system. 90% of your movement, your organ function, your cells, your hormones, your digestive system, you don't feel any of that. 90% of your health you don't feel. So people are like, oh, I don't need to look at my spine because it doesn't hurt. You're missing 90% of what regulates your health. So we look at 100% of what's going on with you. Definitely want to help with the 10% because nobody likes to be in pain. Pain's no fun, right? Nobody likes to have headaches. Nobody likes sciatic pain, neck pain, back pain, joint pain, whatever it is. Nobody loves that. I don't like it either. It interferes with your life. It creates stress and issues. So of course you want to pay attention to the 10%. But what about the 90% that regulates your health? Do we just want to ignore all of that until it hurts? Because when it hurts, you're in the disease process. If your digestive system hurts, you have a diagnosable disease. If your liver hurts, you have liver disease. If your heart hurts, you have heart disease. That's bad. That's already super late stage in the health journey. So is that when we should pay attention to it? No, that's when medicine pays attention to it, right? When you're already sick and diagnosable with a major health concern, which could have taken 5, 10, 20 years to build. What if you started taking action now so the next 20 years, those systems are healthier? That's what proactive health is all about. That's what we focus on here. So are we focusing on just pain relief care, symptomatic management? That's even what most chiropractors do. 90% of chiropractors are symptom-based chiropractors. This is everybody on your insurance plan. This is the joint. This is every place that you walk in. They say, where does it hurt today? Boom, boom, boom. Come back when it hurts again. That can help with pain. That's affecting the 10%. But what about the 90%? If you've had 10 years of damage to your spine, which is causing neck pain, and in 2 weeks the neck pain goes away, does that mean your spine is healthy? No, no way. It takes anywhere from 1 to 3 years to restore 10 years of damage during that period of time. And 99% of that time, you may be feeling just fine. But it's the health benefits that matter the most. And that only comes with the long-term care. That's the functional corrective care. So what we do here in the office is we help through that entire life cycle, from initial intensive care to corrective care to eventually the goal will be get to wellness care. That's when your spine and nervous system is healthier again. And we're maintaining that health so you never drop down in that disease state again. And what we focus on primarily is what's called subluxation. So subluxation is when your spine shifts out of its normal alignment. It stops moving correctly and it interferes with that brain-body connection. So this irritation is an interference with your body's innate intelligence. This innate intelligence is what communicates to the cells, the tissues, and organs. This is what runs your whole body. This is how your body adapts to stress. This is how your hormones work. This is how everything works. So if you have this constant irritation or interference, how's your body going to function? It could be pain, but it could not be pain. If you were totally pain-free and you had an interference to your nervous system, are you healthy? Nope, absolutely not. And chiropractors are the only doctors specifically trained to detect and correct subluxation. And the only way to objectively measure for subluxation is through physiological exams and x-rays. And so that's a big way you know whether you're getting functional corrective care or pain relief care is, did you get an x-ray? Was there an evaluation up front and a specific plan for how to take care of you? Or was it just the same as everybody? Go ahead and lie down. Let's see how you do. Or you get an x-ray once and you never get another one again. How do you know how you're doing? If you measured your weight or your hormones once and never looked at it again, how do you know if it's better or it's in balance or things are improving? So that's why a big part of what we do too is these evaluations over time. Whether you've been here for 6 months or 10 years, we still check in on, are we still in balance? Are we still moving in the right direction with your health goals? Has anything changed? Do we need to change your health based upon what's going on around you? And that's the benefit of that corrective care. So when you look at the health journey, based upon everything we've learned here, this is why everyone who wants to be healthy should be seeing a corrective care chiropractor for the rest of their life. I see a lot of people think they go regularly, which is a couple of times a year or every few months. If someone asks if you exercise and you say, yeah, I exercise regularly, a couple times a year, are you a fit person? Probably not. It just doesn't happen. If you go to your dentist and they're like, oh, have you been blushing and flossing regularly? Sure, once a month. I've been right on it. How's your dental health going to be? Not great. Yeah, you can physically see and you're a part of these things all the time. If you didn't brush your teeth for a month, you probably know. If you didn't work out for a month, you could probably tell. But you can't necessarily see or feel your spine all the time. But the same thing is happening. Your spine decays, it breaks down, it degenerates, it irritates and interferes these nerves. You don't see it because it's not affecting you right in the front. And you don't feel it until you've lost a significant amount of function. And that's where the disease and dysfunction process builds. Is that the time we should be paying attention to the most vital system of your body? That's why chiropractic care is a lifestyle. I've been getting adjusted since I was 16 years old, 25 years now. And I never plan on not getting adjusted at least once a week for the rest of my life. Some weeks I have problems and I get adjusted more, but there's a minimum standard. That's one of the things I encourage all of you to develop is a minimum standard for your health. A lot of people will do things when they're not feeling good. They'll go to the chiropractor, they'll change their diet, they'll do whatever to feel better, but then there's no standard. And you just go back to whatever you did before. Once you create a standard for your nutrition, you don't go back. Once you get healthy, you don't go back to eating McDonald's anymore. You don't go back to door dashing 5 days a week. You don't go back to sedentary lifestyle. You don't go back to medications and ibuprofen and Pepto-Bismol and all the things. You never go back to that because you have a new standard. Once you get healthy and fit and you exercise, you're never going back to not exercising at all again. And once you get adjusted, you should never go back to not getting adjusted because your spine and nervous system is taking stress every single day. And they actually studied this. This is one of my favorite studies. I share this all the time. I wish they did more studies like this, but there's no billion-dollar patent at the end of this one. They studied hundreds of patients for years, one of the longest studies ever done on longevity, where a group of patients went to the chiropractor and the other group went to their doctor. The chiropractic group, who got adjusted at least twice a month, that's what's considered minimum standard for maintenance or wellness, 60% less hospitalizations. Who loves going to the hospital? Nobody, right? Is that the healthy place to be? Nope, that's a sick place to be. So you want to avoid that at all costs. Now, when you're in the hospital, how long do you want to stay there? Not very long. You're like, get me out of here, quick as possible, today, ideally. So the healthier group, the chiropractic group, 59% less days in the hospital. So when they went to the hospital, they recovered faster. Their body adapted quicker because their nervous system was healthy. Now, when they're in the hospital, do you want to opt in for every surgery, every procedure possible? No, you want to hope for the minimum level. It's like, oh, I hope I can get out of here, minimally invasive, not that much. Well, the healthy group, 62% less surgeries. Pretty cool. What about drugs? Who loves taking medications? Raise your hand. Who thinks medications are healthy and want to be taking more? Nobody. The chiropractic group, 85% less pharmaceutical costs. Pretty cool. So obviously the health benefits are superior here. We all know that. What about the costs? Is medical care expensive or cheap? Yeah, how much does it cost to go to the hospital? Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. How much are medications? Are they cheap? No, hundreds, thousands of dollars a month sometimes. Now you may say, well, I have insurance, so that stuff is covered. You want to know the number one cause of bankruptcy every single year? Medical bills. Are these the uninsured people? Nope. It's you and me. I had insurance, but you had a catastrophic event or chronic health conditions that went over what your insurance covers, because do they want to cover everything? Nope. There's all kinds of red tape, all kinds of things where they can deny that, minimize coverage, and then you're stuck with the bill. You're stuck with the $50,000 bill. You're stuck with the $75,000 bill, right? These people here, this group, spent 30% on the average on medical care year after year. So they save 70% on their medical spending, which for the average person now is about $8,000 to $9,000. For a retired couple, medical expenses over $250,000. How would you like to save 70% of that? Wouldn't that be awesome? People say being healthy is expensive. It's healthy. It's expensive to get organic food. It's expensive to take supplements. It's expensive to go to the chiropractor on a regular basis. It's expensive not to. It's expensive not to. The most expensive thing is to be unhealthy. The most expensive thing is to have disease that requires you to go to the doctor regularly and take medications and end up in the hospital and have surgeries and other highly invasive things. That's expensive. So start thinking about your life that way. Is this really expensive, or not doing it is costing me so much more? Not doing the healthy things is costing you so much more. Not in just actual financial money. What about the quality of your life? What's that worth? What is an extra year of being able to walk or play with your grandkids or travel? Any person that's sedentary, can't move anymore, is at the end of their life, what would they say they would do for another day, another week, another month, another year of being healthy? If they could go back and trade all the cars and houses and trips and things and purses and whatnot for an extra week of healthy, you think they would do that? Yeah, but you can't do it at that point. It's too late. It's what you do now that determines where you are then in a year or 5 years or 10 or 20 years. And now there's still sometimes end-of-life things that happen out of accident or happenstance, but most of the time, it's the accumulation of things that built up over the rest of your life. So where you want to be later is what you do right now, which is why these essentials are so vital to your life and something you always want to do. And our team here at the office, we're here to empower and guide you and your family to live this 5 essentials life and support you through chiropractic and holistic healthcare. So that way you can avoid the hospital, avoid the medications, save a significant money on your medical expenses, and actually be healthier with a better quality of life. That's why we love what we do. And we don't want this to be a secret. We want this to share with as many people as possible. So that's why we always encourage you to share this with others. They need your help. If you don't tell them, who will? Is their doctor going to tell them? Nope. Are they going to see this on TV? What do we see on TV? We see drug ads. That's all we see on TV now. It's all there. What do you see driving down the freeway? Medical things. What do you see in the mall? Kaiser Permanente. They're going to solve all your problems. Nope. That's what we're marketed to us. Right? You're not going to see chiropractic. You're not going to see the foundational 3 when you go home and watch TV tonight. It's not going to come up there. You're not going to go to your doctor's office and there's going to be a pamphlet on chiropractic care and the importance of your spine and nervous system. No, you're going to see a bunch of drug pamphlets, the newest vaccine, the newest shot that they have available, the newest procedure that's there. That's what you're going to see. More sickness, more disease. So we have to take ourselves out of that and start doing something different if you want a different result. So if you're a guest here today, you're not a current chiropractic patient, the first step you want to do is get your spine and nervous system checked, right? That's number 1. That's where all of this starts here. For all of you that are already under regular care, is your family in? Is your husband in? Are your kids getting checked? Have you shared this with them? And if you don't tell them, who's going to? They're just going to keep doing the same stuff, right? You don't want to be the only one that's getting healthy and getting well.